America, welcome into the special edition of the Business Pulse. I'm Chuck Barham. We're brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network, where there is a healthcare solution inside of it for you, freedomchamber.net. And that's today's episode of the Business Pulse, live from Studio 525 at Freedom Square's world headquarters. We're joined by Tom Sedeka, our CEO, founder, president of Freedom Square and the Freedom Chamber. We're going to be discussing a lot today with the founder of Bowtie Medical and the COO of Bowtie Medical. I'll let Tom introduce them. But the healthcare, that's the biggest burden American business owners face in today's environment, and there's a solution for it. Instead of premiums going up 30, 40% every year, like we've seen the cost across the board the last couple of years, we have a solution inside the Freedom Chamber. Join us at freedomchamber.net. And if you're watching this, share it with the business owner. Share it with somebody that can benefit from it. freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network. Tom Sedeka, the floor is yours as we go live into our podcast.
Thank you, Chuck. And I just want to welcome our chamber members that have joined us here today. And it's also a real treat to be in a room where you know everybody. It's a real blessing. So thank you for joining us, and we hope that you find this as informative and as exciting as we have on the journey to get to this point. I am so honored and blessed, actually, to have these two gentlemen joining me here, and also another one of our contributors and program providers for our healthcare solution for our members, Dennis Antoneda from HISOP, which will be up a little bit later to share with you the information. Well, as members, when you go into the freedomchamber.net website and you go into benefits, you'll find the health insurance icon or tag that brings you in there and lets you see what we've been able to put together. And I've got to say, in my experience, as an employer, as a user of health insurance, we truly have something special. And the sort of the main anchor of the solution for our members is the Health Guardianship Program, which is put together by Dr. Firooz Daneshgari, who's a surgeon scientist with an incredible career, who did something amazing and decided to step away from his practice and his positions and roles, critical and key positions, because of what he saw happening in the marketplace, and started Bowtie Medical. I'm so glad, because Firooz and I met online about 2 years ago. I think it was eHarmony. No. I'm kidding, not that there's anything wrong with that. But I was asked by one of our co-founders, Gary Rabine, to join a call where they were discussing this new healthcare approach. And I said, yes, absolutely, I'd be honored to. And that's where I met Dr. Firooz, and we started talking. And this was before we even formed the Freedom Chamber. And once we formed the Freedom Chamber, I reached out to Dr. Firooz and said, how are we doing? Do we have something yet? And well, after a little bit of time, yes, we do. And we have something very special. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Firooz Daneshgari and Chris Yesin, the COO of Bowtie, and Dr. Firooz, the founder and CEO of Bowtie Medical. Thank you for being here so much, both you guys.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you, Tom.
Let's start it off. How and where did this come about? We know healthcare is a big problem in America. With that being said, you had a great job at the Cleveland Clinic.
Right.
You've had a great career. You stepped away from it all.
Right.
Decided I need to do better for my patients, because between patient care and insurance, you could see the burden on their faces in day to day and how they were just part of the machine. Walk us through how Bowtie became what it is today, Doctor.
Thank you, Tom, for the introduction, and a privilege and honor to be here and to meet the members of the chamber in person. As you said, I had no business of doing business. I was having fun being an academician, a very highly promoted, ranked academician as a surgeon scientist, chairing some departments until my eyes opened to a bigger problem we had, and that was that we are sitting on the biggest opportunity, biggest asset that we have, frankly, in this country. Some of the best doctors, if not the best doctors in the country, in the world, some of the best technology, some of the best brains. And the system is problematic. And the size of the problem is huge. Last year, we spent $5.6 trillion on healthcare. And if it doesn't catch your attention, you've seen the performance of our unbelievable defense system last few days in this country and around the world. We have spent less than $1 trillion for our entire defense budget. So we spend more than 5 times on that on our healthcare, and our results are miserable. Our people are getting unhealthier. The rate of chronic conditions are going through the roof. An average American has 2 or 3 chronic conditions: obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular. And when I was at the peak of my academic career, my eyes opened to this, realizing that the sick care system, as I call it, is sick itself. And the price tag of that is $5.6 trillion. The second part of it was the federal government only spends less than $2 trillion of that for the Medicare, Medicaid, now about subsidies, about $110 billion on subsidies, the VA program and the CHOP program. The majority of it, almost $4 trillion of that, is spent by you all, by the business owners that are the heart and the heartbeat of the American economy. And the smaller the employer you are, the higher proportion of that price tag you're paying. Because the bigger employers, over 1,000 or so, they're using some other tools, self-insurance and so forth. The small employers don't have it. They don't know how to do it. And they're paying proportionally, they're paying a much higher tax on the healthcare than the large employers. Therefore, through that process, when I came through apologize, I thought I turned this off. When I came out with this understanding that the healthcare is sick, as Tom mentioned, you mentioned, I couldn't take it anymore. I became a whistleblower coming out of the system and founded the company called Bowtie Medical to create a model that now we call it the health guardianship. And the health guardianship is a very, very simple concept. The concept goes back to, if all of us remember, 100 years ago, if I was a physician, you were all my patients. I had the practice in the neighborhood. I saw your family, your kids, and I did 2 things. One was I delivered care to you. I delivered your babies. I lanced your abscess, pulled out your teeth, and in return, you gave me paid me or gave me a piece of the goat or a cheese or something. But at the same time, not only was the care concept, was the guardianship concept. The guardianship was, I was looking for your health. I was looking for the issues that was going in your family. And I would proactively and sometimes reactively would help whatever I could do. If I couldn't do that service myself, I would go and find someone. If you got admitted to the hospital, I would come and visit with you. And who remembers the last time your primary care, your family physician came to the hospital and visited you? Because since then, since before the World War II to now, the model of healthcare has changed. The hospitals have become the center of the universe for delivery of the sick care, and they have turned into financial institutions. They use what they call clinical volume, means surgeries, procedures, labs, and x-rays, as a unit of production, and they calculate to the cent the margin on that. So what we call healthcare in this country is delivered through 5,000 hospitals that have become financial institutions in every market you can name them, and they compete on the margin. By the way, the margin is much, much fatter than the other essentials that we use. The margin of grocery store is about 1% to 2%. The margins of the hospitals are competing between 7 and 15%. So it was that awakening call that I said, enough is enough. Someone needs to spend time and address the sickness of the sick care system itself. And I was lucky enough to meet with Tom and later the members of the Freedom Chamber that how we can bring this easily available in-hands solution for the employers and especially the smaller employers, less than 1,000. That not that over the 1,000 won't solve the issue, but nevertheless, the smaller employers are paying the highest burden of the costs in healthcare.
Walk us through that process. And Chris, you're not just going to look good up there. I want you to jump in on the conversation.
Thanks, Chuck.
Walk us through what it's like, because I've got firsthand knowledge on how Bowtie Medical works, and we'll talk about that later in the podcast. But Chris, walk us through the journey on how you got together with Doctor, how things are going at Bowtie, what it means to the future of healthcare and to business owners in America.
All right. Well, I don't come from a healthcare background from a delivery perspective, but I've been in business and healthcare for most of my career, having worked with diagnostic imaging, pharmaceutical manufacturing, delivery of home care, so products and services throughout the space. And the last 10, 15 years, my eyes have been open to fighting for choice, for freedom, for justice, for doing the right thing. A Six Sigma black belt by training, so I'm focused a lot on efficiency and how to do things the right way the first time, do it consistently, repeatedly, over and over again. And I met Dr. D back in 2021. I had spent 5 years at a company called Bravo Wellness that delivered outcomes-based incentives programs for wellness that allowed employers to really cost shift with a purpose. And when I joined that company, I thought for sure this is the answer to changing healthcare spend, to changing behavior, but it wasn't. It missed the mark because it wasn't through the primary care doc. And then after I talked to Farouz and got to know this company better, I realized that he was onto something here. Because if you want to solve a problem, you can't keep treating the symptoms. You've got to get at the root cause. And the root cause in healthcare is misaligned incentives from top to bottom. So we've pretty much done everything opposite what the hospitals do today. We're not specialist centric, we're primary care centric. We don't work for the hospital, we're independent. We don't put you on your own, we give you a concierge so we navigate you. We don't believe in networks because we want to have open access. We want to believe in paying up front, putting normal economics in place. We get the best rates by doing that. So that allows us to reduce the size of claims and reduce the number of claims. And if you want to reduce the healthcare costs, those are the two things you have to impact the most.
I'm Chuck, business owner.
Yeah.
What do I need to know to get the ball rolling with Bowtie Medical through the Freedom Chamber as a member? And Tom, you want to handle that from step one
Well, sure.
to where we're at?
I went.
Because we're doing it. We're utilizing Bowtie Medical at the Freedom Chamber. Freedom
We
Square.
went through the process and having had the benefit of a, inside peek, and seeing how this was structured, I said, I have to go through the quoting process and I have to take a look and see what the impact is going to be for our company. And, as the protocol is very similar when you deal with a broker. And so I got a copy of our bill. I put together a census and answered the additional questions, provided it to the team at Bowtie, and received back a proposal that laid out, here are your choices of a $3,000 deductible, a $5,000 deductible, and a $3,000 or $5,000 HSA. And it went through all the coverages, it went through the co-pays and everything. And I'm like, well, that's better than United Healthcare than where I'm at. That's better than United Healthcare than where I'm at. Oh, that's about the same. That's better. That's better. And then it went down to the cost of the premium, and I said, there's got to be an issue here. So I'm going to make a call.
It's too good to be true.
Typo.
They probably forgot a number of my employees. Well, after talking to them, they did not. We saved 52% on the premium.
How much was that, Tom?
52%.
I got it.
And we got our renewal for this year. It was up 3%. And this goes to exactly what Dr. Farouz and Chris are talking about, is managing the care. And I will tell you that my team utility of care was probably comparable to the year before, when we had gotten about a 22% hike from our friends at UHC. And so it was a very sort of routine analysis and proposal process. So nothing unusual there. Like I said, the results were excellent, and I could not in good conscience continue with my current healthcare provider, and I had to try this both for the company and for the employees. And we're so happy that we did, because the reaction, and I should note something that Chris mentioned about not having to worry about a network. When we first started, there was a network in place, and it was a good network. 98% of the doctors and hospitals and specialists were in the group. So it was not extraordinary for us.
So, Tom, let me unpack why this is. This is not a black box. Formula is very simple. If you look at the numbers, $5.6 trillion we spend for our population, that is between 200 to 300% more than the rest of the world. We spend about $14,000 per capita. The Japanese and the Europeans are spending between $4,000 to $6,000. And our outcomes are worse than their outcomes. So we have an expensive and a mispriced product. Why? Why this greatest country on earth is tolerating that? When you unpack this, remove the veil, is because more than half of what we do, more than half of what I did during my career, is a waste. I do procedures, surgeries, prescribe things that make money for me and my employer as a physician, but doesn't add anything meaningfully to the outcome of the health for that person. So everyone in the US knows the function of waste. Waste is something that doesn't add anything to the quality or the quantity you want to get. Is a waste is a gas guzzler, goes to the air, and no one benefits from it. And why this waste has been created is because the consumer has been dislodged from his position as a customer. So these are my discoveries. We as a consumer, we all are consumers of healthcare. We go to the hospitals, to the doctors. We sign a white sheet of paper that I'll pay you whatever you charge me, regardless of the price, regardless of you charging me $30 for a Tylenol or XYZ. And 30 days later, we get a bill we get a letter in the mail said, this is not a bill, looks like a bill. And 30 days later, this part of it was paid by the insurance, this part is your obligations. And that process is filled with the waste, number one, from the waste in access to care. So when you want to go and see your primary care, most of them are full, they can't see you. That basically makes you to go to urgent care, to the ER. The costs are somewhere between $1,000 to $4,000. They repeat a bunch of unneeded things that you don't need it, but since you've gone there, they do it. The waste is in the billing system. Between the process when you sign that white sheet of paper and the time you get the bill, there is a mafia inside those systems to upcode and increase your pay. I'll give you an example. I had set up a clinic in one of the suburbs of Cleveland when I was practicing. One day I saw someone is coming and putting the plaque on the door of the clinic, says, this clinic is the extension of XYZ Hospital. I said, wow, this is a very long extension cord. We are about 10 miles away. He said, yes. I said, why are you putting this? He said, well, from now on, we're going to charge the patients facility fees. I said, what is the facility fee? He says, because the insurance allows us to charge facility when the clinic is a part of the hospital. And I said, how much is the facility fee? He said, well, for an outpatient visit for a specialist is $750. I said, how much is my charge? Because the patient comes to see me, not to see the doors and your plaque. He said, $250. I said, so the patient who saw me yesterday was paying $250. The patient who's coming tomorrow is going to pay $1,000? He said, yes. I'm sweating here. I'm saying, this is not what I took the Hippocratic Oath. I said, I would not cause harm and I'm causing financial harm to my patient. So there is a hidden dark money inside this process that creates that waste. So the job of the guardianship, very simply put, is says, number one, as Chris mentioned, more than 80–90% of the port of our entrance into the healthcare is a primary care. I have a headache, I have diabetes, the first thing you need to do, you pick up and you talk to your primary care. That primary care should not work for the hospital, should not be an employee of a hospital that benefits financially from you being sick. That primary care should work for you. That's why we created the subscription model. Our primary cares are working for you. You pay us a subscription model, we are 24/7 available to you. Take care of your acute needs, take care of your primary care needs, take care of your wellness program and so forth, 24/7. And in the world of the digital transformation, that is available 24/7. That would eliminate your employees to go to ER, take off from work to go and get a prescription medication, take off work, for everything else. That by itself reduces the waste by about 20–30%. The next step is, which is the natural question is going to come, so what if my employee needs a surgery, needs to go see a specialist? Done. Our team, your guardianship team, now is in charge of finding the best specialist in your area for you. And the next step is we communicate with that specialist, we tell the specialist, we're going to pay you right at the time of the service because we don't want you to go through that dark money loop of creating the bill. So this is really simply a health guardianship. We have identified systematically the sources of the waste in the access, in the payment, in the fragmentation of the care, this crazy system that has been built over the past 50–60 years to bring really a consumer-based, centered members. We are not chasing the money. We are chasing the quality of the care and the experience for the member. And the money follows. In every other value-driven business, when you focus on the value, the savings and the benefits follow.
And that's a great point, Dr. Ferouz. The concierge component was a new element for consideration for us. And Chuck, I'm going to throw it to Chuck because Chuck is a end user of the program, as is Mike, as is Joe. Chuck, share with us your experience with.
Sure. As you always take a step into something new, we're creatures of habit. My wife's in healthcare. She's a nurse practitioner. When this was brought to the forefront at the family table, she's like, what's this? What's Bowtie? What is this? This doesn't have a blue shield. It doesn't have a UHC by it. What is this? So I told her, I said, think of it as Tesla 10, 12 years ago. Everybody's like, what's a Tesla? What's this? Now it's all part of America's fabric. So chaos can bring change and change can bring great things. And that's what Bowtie Medical has done. And when Tom came to Mike and myself and Joe and said, look, guys, we're going to save some money. I believe in this. I really want you to look into it. Dive deep into it. I believe your phrase was poke holes in it. Come back and report to me what you found. There weren't many holes to poke into it because 98%, and that's an accurate number, of the doctors, the OBGYN, the pediatrician, they were in the network for Bowtie Medical. Once again, I have to go back and go in front of the chairman of the board, my wife, and try to convince her that this is going to work. So during that time that we went and did our research, my daughter got really sick. And it was right when we switched over health insurance plans to Bowtie. Teresa Zuri is her name. She works for Bowtie Medical. Basically, you have a white glove concierge is what you do. You call up, you say, hi, Teresa, this is Chuck Barham. I'm ... number. She goes, oh, nice to meet you. I said, Teresa, I've got a major problem on my hands. We've just switched insurance. My daughter's really sick. Where can I go? Teresa goes, let me take down the information. I'll be back to you within the hour or so. Within 90 minutes, she got back to me and said, this is where you're going to go. This is what it's going to cost. This is your appointment date. This is who you're going to check in with. She did all the legwork. I went back to my wife and said, this is the steps were going to go on. Now, was it incredibly as smooth as that? No, there were hiccups and bumps in the road because it was something new. But Teresa was there every step of the way. She would call on us just to say, hey, how's your daughter doing? How'd the appointment go? And then my daughter needed to have surgery. And Dr. Frust had said that they'll find the right doctor for you to go have surgery, to find the best one inside of their network that's close to your house. It was a doctor that was already in, that we'd done business with, so to speak, with my daughter, taken care of everything. She was able to get her tonsils and adenoids out, not a problem. Bowtie was there every step of the way. So this is not some BS snake oil type thing where we're trying to upgrade your insurance. This is legit. It's saving Freedom Square 52% in our premiums. It saved us thousands, and I mean thousands of dollars personally as a family at Barham Incorporated. And I truly hope that people that are watching this just aren't going, whatever. No, you need to absorb it. You need to get on the phone with Chris, and I'm sure Doctor would take a call from a business owner every now and then, or call me and Tom or Mike. You can reach me at chuck@freedomsquare.com. But I also want you to pass this podcast on to people that own a business that are struggling because of healthcare costs, because we know that's the biggest burden. You're trying to expand your business, hire more employees, but your costs just went up 35% from year to year. That's impeding the progress of what the American dream is. This is bringing back a component that will help get rid of the roadblocks to your mutuals inside of your company that'll also keep your employees healthy, which helps out with, putting out a great product, making sure your employees are well kept, which is employee retention as well. So Bowtie has done the legwork. The Freedom Chamber has it. All you need to do is take the first step and learn about it. And we're creatures of habit. I know change is a big thing. I went through it. You can go through it. And it's a great thing. And I appreciate what you guys have built because it saved a lot of headache and it really helped my daughter's health. So thank you.
I'm glad to hear that the experience. I have a litmus test question for people
Yes.
to start. Go back to your premiums as small business owners. If your premiums over the past 3 years has not increased by 30%, don't sign up. If it has gone over 30%, compared to the fact that what would happen if your mortgage had gone up 30%? What if your car payment had gone up 30%? And the rest of the expenses? Then you get the message. Sorry, Chris.
Well, I'm just going to say,
I was going to ask you a question, Chris, because we talked about this before the podcast.
Yeah.
The biggest screen doors in the business world are HR directors,
right.
are people that manage that like to be comfortable in their position. Like, what's this? Then I got to go out and talk to the employees about it and go through that Tesla moment that we had.
Yeah.
How's that been? And go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to get that off my gray matter out into the ecosystem.
Well, it's building on the concept that I wanted to share is like this is a disruptive model, but it's so crazy that doing the right thing is disruptive. That's the part that's so astounding to me. We have been trained to tolerate the worst customer service, incredibly high prices, dysfunctional, disjointed, disconnected care, getting 5 minutes with our primary care doctor, and we think that's world class. It is not world class. It is garbage. The right answer is we got to get a lot of time with our primary care doctor because nobody cares about our care as much as a doc or when he or she takes the time to really dig into what's going on. It requires time. I mean, a physician has three things, right? They've got their time, their education, and they've got their experience. And the healthcare system has removed their time. So it's a two-legged stool, and that typically falls over, and that's what's happening in healthcare. But that disruptive model also, it has an impact on the brokers who sell it and on clients who buy it. Brokers, for the most part, want to make this a really easy process for themselves and for their clients. Nobody ever gets fired for selling Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Nobody ever gets fired for bringing Blue Cross and Blue Shield into an organization. But it's not the best answer for employers because there's a lot of waste built into these systems. It's a black box. There's a lot of hidden costs in there that none of us are aware of. You need the transparency and the visibility. So you want to make sure that your broker isn't just taking the easy route, that they are giving you innovation, new solutions, and they're working for you, not for the insurance companies. Brokers get paid a significant amount of money called overrides that they don't have to disclose. And those overrides might be 6 or 7 figures a year to an office. So these are the things, when you look at the incentives of why people make the decisions that they do, you have to always, like, how are you paid? What's it, how are you working for me? And for those making the decisions within an organization, how are HR organizations typically measured? Many times it's on the complaints within a population. But change always brings complaints, but change doesn't mean it's bad, and complaints don't mean it's bad. It just means it's a different way of doing things. So having the concierge service where we can work with you and handhold your people from where they are to where the promised land is, which is better quality care, faster access, less unnecessary care, it's going to take some time, and we're going to invest in your people to do that.
And that's why we call it the health guardianship, because we primarily consider ourselves as the guardians of your health and your wellness. Because when we focus on that target, the rest of the value follows through. Again, I have written a book on the concept. You can look it up, Health Guardianship, the remedy to the sick care system. The guardianship is truly the remedy to disclose and make it transparent that 50% of the dark money that you're spending from your bottom lines to feed a dysfunctional system. And this solution doesn't need the act of Congress. It really needs the membership of the groups like Chamber of Commerce who are thinking, I can do better. There's a disruptive model. There's a Tesla. There's an iPhone. There's something that we have all the changes we've gone through over the past 30 years, and we can do better. And the good news is at the end of tunnel, if we do this right, if the employer groups in this country do this, we will create the next largest chapter of value and wealth generation in this country. The healthcare is the largest industry in this country. We are the healthcare spending in this country is the third economy in the world. Our GDP is 30 trillion. China is about 19. The next one is Germany, that last time I looked up is 5 trillion. Healthcare has surpassed Germany's GDP in terms of our spending. And that has, again, $2 or $3 trillion waste in it. And imagine what you can do with that 40, 50% saving, both as a company and as a nation. So the solution is very simple, like again, the Tesla. I like the example of the Tesla. The model was there, right? Someone with the creative idea came in and I said, I want to make this kind of people understand it, and that is how we are doing. And that's why I'm very thankful to the Chamber of Commerce, because as Chris said, it is disruptive, but a disruptive that is going to leave the taste of the best experience you've had, your employees have had in dealing with healthcare, and the savings in your pocket.
Absolutely. And, a side note, with the amount of savings that we had, we stopped taking the employee portion from their check and just picked up the entire cost, and we were still well ahead. And talk about an impact to morale, talk about a tremendous, I think, client retention tool. It is that important, and that's why we are so happy to do this event. This is our first chamber event where we got together here in Illinois, but we will be sending this out to our members across the country because of how important it is and how significant the impact could be to one's business and their bottom line. So important. We also have a couple of other components inside of our health. If I could, I want to introduce Dennis Antonetta.
Yeah, Dennis, come on up here. You can use this side of the.
Heads up. I will.
Dennis, Dennis, go right here.
Okay.
There.
Dennis, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. So, guys, it's exciting for me to sit there and listen to these gentlemen because Chris said it at the end there, but what's happening here is just disruption. These guys are just screaming disruption. And that's what the healthcare industry needs is disruption, because that healthcare industry is broken. I mean, just to piggyback off a little bit off what he said, the country's never been more unhealthy, right? Chronic illnesses and everything else. But in addition to that, it's a perfect storm of crap. I mean, in addition to people being unhealthy, because of the cost of insurance going up, skyrocketing, like he mentioned, it's caused employers to do what? Raise the deductibles and out of pocket so they can try to keep costs in check. And that's leaving more exposure for employees now. Now, these same employees, we're not talking about necessarily people in this room, but generally in America, Joe Lunchbucket, 1 out of 4 people out there don't have $500 put away for an emergency. So how are these people going to pay these ridiculously high out-of-pocket costs? About 4 weeks ago, my wife had a back fusion, and we went to check in for the surgery. And at check-in, they said, your deductible is $6,200. You haven't met your deductible yet. It's early in the year, right? And they said, how are you going to pay for that? So I was like, right, also I got my credit card and I paid for it. But I thought to myself, what does a regular guy do that isn't as blessed as I am that can break out my credit card and get 6,200 American Airlines miles on it or whatever? But what did they do? Hey, honey, can we come back next year? I'm going to try to save $6,000 to come back and get you your back surgery. You could barely, sleep at night and walk. I mean, I don't even know what people do anymore. It's crazy. So now they're not even billing you. And they're probably not billing you because I heard something, don't quote me exactly, but like 82% of patient responsibilities go unpaid. Who can afford to pay these out-of-pockets, right? So, there's just here's another statistic that's really scary. In 2023, this is according to Kaiser Family Foundation, 1 out of 3 insured, this is not uninsured, 1 out of 3 insured Americans were foregoing on medically recommended treatments because they couldn't afford to pay for the MRIs and the lab work and all the other stuff that wasn't covered by medical. So it's a completely broken system that needs to be disrupted by folks like this. And so my story is I'm a career corporate guy at Chubb. And I didn't do the major medical. I did the supplemental stuff, probably like the Aflac commercials you guys hear when someone breaks something, they get a little money sent to them. And that's great. But what I've learned over my career is that all that stuff is it's a Band-Aid for a bullet hole. It's nice if you break your leg and you go to the ER and you get an x-ray and you get casted and you go to therapy. It's cool if you get $750, $850 checked for that. However, that's not going to cover the cost of your out-of-pockets for something like that, right? It's going to be in the thousands. And so what we've done, which is again, it's disruption. It's not the same status quo that's out there. Is we've partnered with a company, and what these guys do is they take existing IRS law that's been in place since 1972, Section 125, Section 213D, Section 105B. This has been there since the 1970s. However, most people don't use it in the way that it could be used. And so what they do is they take this existing law to do 3 things. Number one, they incentivize employees, and not like the typical wellness programs that if you get some blood work done, you'll get $50 or a gift card for a Target for $100. That's fine, but it doesn't really incentivize people to really do something healthy. Most people don't even do that. They don't want their employer to know that, hey, this guy's got an addiction, he's got diabetes, he's got all these issues, because employers typically don't want to pay for that kind of stuff. So people don't usually respond well to these typical incentive programs out there. What this program does is it incentivizes people to get healthy. The incentive is a claim check. This is all behind the scenes. There's no transaction for the employee physically. It's all done behind the payroll system. But by getting healthy, by doing something that's healthy, and I don't want to underscore how cool the health process is, but by doing something healthy once a month, which is not really a big deal, you get a claim payment paid to them. That claim payment is on Section 125 pre-tax. It really helps fund medical gap. Medical gap is kind of like a supplemental to a med sub plan. It's a medical supplement program to a major medical program. These guys are saving you guys a bunch of money on your premiums, but there's still some out of pocket. It's not as much as probably a Blue Cross Blue Shield. Well, a program like this would now eliminate those remaining out of pocket costs to the employee. It's under pretext, so they get healthy. That funding from the claim payment is used to pay for a medical gap plan. It's a Zurich right across the street, A-rated medical plan, approved by the Department of Insurance. The company that pays the medical claim payment is also an A-rated company, approved in 43 states in the United States. Illinois is one of them. And so now the person basically has a medical plan. Hopefully it's one of these guys' plans because they're going to save premium and have less out-of-pockets. But then the out-of-pocket has a second card from Zurich that would pay all the out-of-pocket costs. And anything that the major medical approves is paid for by this medical gap. Anything elective wouldn't be paid for. If a guy wants a nose job or a girl wants a nose job, major medical's not going to approve it, and then the gap wouldn't pay for it either. But basically, you use existing IRS code, You use pre-tax dollars to motivate these people to do something healthy. They get this claim check to fund a medical gap, and now you eliminate the out-of-pocket costs. There's always a loser in something like this. It can't be just a win-win for everyone. So it's a win-win for the employee. It's a win-win for the employer because we're using pre-tax dollars, so you're lowering your FICA. On average, you're saving between $800 to $1,000 per person. The exact amount depends on the person's salary, what the W-4 looks like, and all of that. And so, you're saving pre-tax dollars to the employer. Your employee now has a medical plan they can utilize. And really the only loser in this whole thing is the IRS. I mean, I'm just being honest because you're using their pre-tax dollars, but you're using their code. And what I commonly hear from people is, well, what if the IRS finds out? I mean, the IRS may find out, they may not find out. If they find out, they change the laws, and then the insurance companies that are abiding by the Department of Insurance laws have to change their filings. That's what would happen if the IRS changed something. But again, we're using laws from the 70s, and even Obamacare, as criticized as it is, and probably more so in this room, that hasn't changed since 2010. So it's not like it's something that would probably change overnight. But that's really what we do, is we utilize tax law, current tax law, to help people get healthy and have a real medical program and help employers save a little bit of money as well. So it's kind of complicated to explain in all of this, but I'd be happy to discuss further, one-on-one or take any questions.
That's great, Dennis. Thank you. I want to note, and Chris has something to share too, but very important to know that the guardianship is eligible for 3 employees participating or more, which is excellent. Usually when you get to the smaller groups like that, your options disappear, your leverage disappears. But this is really, really important. But we have a number of members too that are one or two member LLCs or sole proprietors or sub-S, and they can't get group or they can't find good coverage out there. And if you're in Illinois and you have to go to the exchange, that is the worst out there. I don't know if anybody knows anybody who's had to go to the exchange, but good luck finding a provider. Usually you end up somewhere where they take Medicaid. And many of your good providers aren't taking 80% of the insurance that's out on the exchange, which is a complete ass backward of what we were promised back in 2010 at the launch of it. So again, we're focused on providing solutions for our membership. And Chris, could you speak to the other opportunities, particularly with those for the smaller?
Sure. So, in the insurance world, typically if you're 25 employees on the health plan or less, you're considered a small employer. And many times you can get self-funded down to maybe as low as 15, but typically it's 25 or more employees. So if you're a small employer, your option is a fully insured policy. And just like Vegas, the house never loses. The insurance carriers never lose when it comes to fully insured. So we recognize for health guardianship to have the greatest impact on employers, we needed to get integrated into health plans that kind of thought philosophically the way we do. So we've got a partner named Utego Health that has created a legal structure that allows them to really aggregate disparate employers of 1 and 2 so they get a larger risk pool. Because this is really, it's a game of large numbers, right? Insurance is all about actuarial science. You have to look at how many people you have in your population. I'm spreading this risk over. So they've created a solution that allows employers of 1 and 2 to have a lot more benefit for a lot less money. And they call it their gig care plan because what they've done is they've created a legal structure that allows this aggregation to occur. It's a compliant plan. And people can get access to. It doesn't have full guardianship in it, but it does have Bowtie integrated in and a lot of the things that we provide. So it's great value to a small employer, and it's a lot less money than what you pay from a traditional Blues or one of the BUCA plans.
But the way to get it is by freedomchamber.net.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No back doors.
Freedomchamber.net.
No back doors.
Right.
We're running up against the clock here. We've got an audience here. Are there any questions in the audience for any of the panel up here?
Quick setup. One of the things we know is that the medical market has become disconnected between consumer and seller. The patient and the doctor don't really get to communicate anymore. It's the insurance company that's driving it. We know we don't get rid of an insurance company here. There still is one. So we're trying to change that communication piece. And Chuck's question came to this a little bit, or his example, excuse me. But here's a question for you. I'm embracing the rhyme of the ancient mariner, have a bad morning. I wake up, and the first thing I notice, my back is so sore, I can barely stand up upright. I decide to take a shower. Maybe I'll loosen up. And while doing so, I find a lump under my arm. Finally, because I'm paranoid, every morning I get up and take a COVID test. When I get out of the shower, I see that it's positive. So my back's gone, I've got a lump, and my virus is active. What happens if I'm in the program and I make the call? Where does that go?
Sure. So what you mentioned, Brett, is really, it is true that this largest industry has been built on a sacred relationship. I use my hands to show that. What they call, or what we call patient, in this case we call members, because not all of us are patients at the same time, but we are consumers of healthcare, and the doctor. This sacred relationship is the foundation for this $5.6 trillion industry. The unfortunate thing is this space has been filled with over 20 intermediaries over the past 60, 70 years that are making basically the system unaffordable for the patient, for the consumer, and intolerable to the doctors. The doctor's burnout has never been this high because none of us went to medical school to become a cog in the wheel of a financial institution. We want to help the patient, right? So what the guardianship has done has functionally eliminated this intermediary, brought this together. So in your case, you have a direct line to your guardianship team. Number one, when you are a member, you go through a very widespread screening. So we want to get you very, very well. We want to know your health. We want to know your health habits. We want to know what medications you're taking. We want to know where you grew up and so forth. Very much in the Chuck's example, there is a guardian, angel, a Sherpa on the other side of that line of communication, the phone, text, whatever it is. And I'm going to name it as the avatar as Teresa. That who basically, as soon as you come out of the shower, says, Brett, I'm sorry that to hear you have things. These are the issues that you have. Some of it may be primary care issue. So I'm going to have you to talk to your primary care guardian. So you will be connected within 2 hours to your doctor, and the doctor will go through that. What kind of lump is that, right? And have you had the back problem before? So these goes back all the history of that. So if you've had a back problem in the past, and this is another recurrence of that, that is a different story. Whereas it's the lump under your arm and the back are related to, God forbid, a prostate cancer because you have a lump here and you have a bone metastasis. Those are two different medically scenarios. But again, the person who is in the best position to help you is that guardianship team. The nurse, the guardian, the doctor who can help you says, number one, and most importantly, regardless of whether it's a benign or a non-benign condition, calm you down. We are here to help you out. We are here to help you out. We are here on this path to take you to that part. If it's hopefully it's a primary care, here it is, Brett. Your back has been hurting for the past several times, right? I'm going to connect you to a virtual athletic trainer. We have virtual athletic trainers in our access. That day is going to tell you, Chuck, these are the exercises I'm going to show you. Number one, for your lump, probably we need to get an MRI. There's an MRI. We have contractual agreement with the imaging facilities throughout the whole country. You can get your MRI this morning for a cost of less than $400. If you walk to the hospital in your corner of the world, the cost of MRIs are over $3,000 to $4,000. So it is a jigsaw puzzle of the care, right? And the professional ability and the resources that we basically, the guardianship team handles for you to get the stress out of you, to provide you have the immediate access, you have the best care, and you have the experience. So when that night you go to sleep, all your worries has been eliminated. Throwing the question back at you, I want you compare how would you do that when you have a full insurance? Take me through that example. You're going to get out of go ahead and explain to me how that's going to happen when you don't have a guardianship team.
I think in general, can't speak for everyone here, but in general, I think most people do one of two things. They either walk into an urgent care clinic or they walk into the emergency.
And what happens then?
You're put in the queue for a very long time. You are first made sure you have your insurance and you can't pay because sometimes they'll send you away,
Right.
at urgent care in particular. And then you'll wait and then you'll see someone who may very well tell you that what's wrong with you, we can't help you with here.
And they run a bunch of unnecessary tests on you because that's how they make
Right.
money.
Yes.
Because they have the
Forgot that part.
right that part. So
Yeah.
the experience that I explained in the guardianship basically is covered 100%. You don't have any worries of how am I going to pay for this, right? It's a subscription model that you have paid, your employer has paid on a monthly basis. It is and that is why we don't incentivize our providers. We don't pay them based on how many patients they see per day. We incentivize them how much problem they solve. And that is what the role of the guardianship team is.
Got a question over here, doctor.
I think this is really fascinating. I think it's great that you're doing something in this space. And I'm really excited about your product. How does it work, though, when essentially doctors are captured entities of big hospital systems now where they've bought out all these practices? And I don't understand is how do the hospitals work with you in your program and then still make a profit? Because they've got to be essentially running two sets of books.
Sure. So I'll give my answer, and Chris will answer probably a better answer.
And just so you know, we're under the clock here,
Yeah, yeah.
coming up to our hard break.
The issue is really our program is covered at the base by network. So the doctors have a network, means we have a contractual agreement. But the first thing we want to eliminate the networks. We want you to go anywhere you want by simple the cash pay, upfront pay. So our guardians will reach out to the doctor that is closest you have gone and so forth, and we're going to pay you. And by law now, they have to accept the cash pay, thanks to President Trump, and we take care of that. If there is a case where a hospital doesn't accept the cash pay, then the network is the coverage.
And if I can maybe just build. So number one, all of our doctors work for Bowtie. They don't work for any system. So they're independent. They're all licensed, board certified. They hated what they were experiencing in the system, so they left to work for us. So we can manage 95% of your care through their primary care team. They have specialties. We've got nurses. We have health coaches, all working together as one interdisciplinary independent team. When we need to get you in someplace, let's say a lab, we've got a direct contract with Quest and LabCorp. We'll send you there. We'll save you money. If you need diagnostic imaging, we've got direct contracts with a couple third-party providers where we will save you 1/10 of the cost of what you pay at the hospitals. We are trying to limit the time we need to send you into the big brands. And when we do, we want to use cash to pay a time of service so we get better economics. So we've been brainwashed to think, wow, these networks are I need a Blue Cross network. If you take 50% off Infinity, it's still a lot of money, right? They just keep raising their prices. So these networks just give discounts really between 45 to 55% off list. Cash, you might get 75 to 80% for that same service, same doctor, same facility. You're paying up front. So we're using other innovative ways to reimburse these systems at time of service, which allows us to buy the necessary care. And if the brand is the best location, great. But just because it's the best brand does not mean it's the best care. And so we're going to help you navigate that.
25 years ago, I was ahead of you. I did cash pay for one of my pregnancies.
Awesome.
I didn't have insurance. I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
pay cash.
You know,
And-
you saw. Yeah. Yeah.
And frankly, going to the example I think your Dennis was saying, majority of the care, because of the high deductibles co-insurance, people are paying majority of that out of pocket anyways, right? And I have to say one thing before we close, is the issue of disruption. As the small business owners and entrepreneurs think that the last 3 disruptive companies, and I'll name them, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, they're the one not only disrupted their industry, they were the first companies who became the first trillion-dollar companies and changed our lives through that process. The time has arrived for healthcare, and the burden of that and responsibility of that, frankly, is all the way to us. No one else is going to fix it for us but ourselves.
Amen to that. Thank you all for being here. Chris, Doctor, Tom, thank you for being a part of the panel today. Where'd Dennis go? Dennis, thank you for being here too. You want to learn more? freedomchamber.net. That's where you can find it. Bowtie Medical. We're changing it. We want you to be a part of it. Join us. This has been a special edition of the Business Pulse. Healthcare costs are crushing America's small businesses. Premiums have risen over 240% in the last decade, forcing companies to choose between growth and healthcare coverage. The Freedom Chamber, found online at freedomchamber.net, has a better solution: the Guardianship Healthcare Plan. Designed by a doctor who understands that strong care starts with a strong doctor-patient relationship. This plan puts people first while protecting your bottom line. With up to 45% annual premium savings, the Guardianship Plan delivers real care, real savings, and real freedom. Your business, your employees, your health plan needs the Guardianship. The Freedom Chamber Guardianship Plan. Get your quote today. Learn how your business can take control of healthcare. Visit freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network.